What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to another seven. We're officially entering, close to that midway point of the season. Now, we're now really entering the point where you're going to see in these next few weeks, a lot of the teams really, make or break. You're going to see within, I think, the next 3 or 4 weeks, what teams are going to be there and what teams are not. You already got a sense of a few teams that will be there. You already got a sense of a few teams that, their seasons probably, aren't headed toward a good trajectory. Without further ado, we got some good games here this week. I like a lot of games in this slate of games here in week 7. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get this next week. Easily my best week of the entire year. Went 12 and 2 out the Monday night game. Those are the only two that I really missed on. Those were you can honestly say those were my two upset picks. Obviously, one of them was my official upset of the week pick. So, every other pick, kind of, just went safe on. I ended up winning. Overall record, significantly improved to 53-39. Lock of the week 5. Do have just 2 teams on a bye week this week. So we got 15 games that are being played, but 2 teams are on a bye. The Chicago Bears, they're looking good right now. Bears are looking good with Caleb Williams. Looks like, things are finally coming together in Chi-Town. So they're going to go into a bye with momentum. And the Dallas Cowboys suffering that horrendous loss to the Lions. This bye could come at a really good time. Thursday night football down in New Orleans. Currently sitting down to the Big Easy. Sean Payton going into his old stomping grounds of the Superdome. The currently losers of 4 straight. I love seeing that. I do. But they're dealing with injuries. You'd have to assume Dennis Allen's seat is getting hot. And to be honest, if they lose this game, I wouldn't be shocked if you see Dennis Allen get fired. I really wouldn't. And I really think it comes down to a lot of things. It's in New Orleans, but I just don't know if the Saints in this type of situation, if their fans are really going to be able to get hyped for this. And it's a short week. It's a Thursday night game as well. The thing with these Thursday night games we've learned so far this year, I think every team that's won Thursday night games, in that circumstance has been the better team. And right now, I think Denver is the better team. And I'm going to be picking Denver to win. And I don't even really think it's going to be all that close. It could be because, thing with Thursday night, it happens every once in a while. But you don't see too many blowouts too often. But I could see this being one of these cases where Sean Payton goes in there, obviously fired up. The Broncos want to get back in the win column. This Saints team, it's just so hard to see how they're going to get hyped with a rookie quarterback, a head coach that, might be on his last leg. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick Denver to win this one going away. Heading into our Sunday slate of games, 3rd straight week, we got a London game. I believe it's the final London game on the season. I do think we got one more international game in Germany in a few weeks. But it is the New England Patriots, now with Drake May under center at quarterback. Got his first start last week versus Houston. And it was an up and down start going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars team that once again, their coach and Doug Peterson, he could absolutely be on the hot seat if they lose this game. I really do think with these London games, it is trickier. You can look at circumstance a lot of the time, maybe the better team. The thing is, these two teams, they aren't really good. But when I look at it, I at least think that Jacksonville, there is some stability there. Jacksonville, I think, has pieces. They're just not able to put it together. And I think in this game, I know, New England, I'm picking Jacksonville to win this game. I don't know why it has a 21-17. I must have put it in there wrong or something. But I mean, it could be a back and forth game, but I believe Jacksonville's going to come out with this one on top. So don't let that fool you. I am picking Jacksonville in this one, 21-17, not New England. So I do think Jacksonville is going to win, get back in the win column. Heading into our 1 o'clock window and the really good game we got here in the NFC North. The Detroit Lions 4-1. They did lose Aiden Hutchinson. Prayers to him, obviously. You just hate to see it, especially with how awful that injury looked. But they're going into US Bank Stadium and they're facing the 5-0 Minnesota Vikings. And I'm going to tell you this about Minnesota, man. Don't lose so far. They're coming off their bye week. But I really think when you look, it just feels like the better team. Even though Minnesota has the undefeated record, it feels like Detroit is still the better team. Now, if Minnesota is able to win this game, this is no doubt a statement game that Minnesota is not just, maybe hasn't benefited from circumstances early, that they might be a really good team and be able to sustain this. But I'm going to have to pick the Lions here. But I honestly think this is going to be a really good game. I'm going to pick this as game of the week because I just get that vibe. I think this is going to be a very solid football game, you see. But I do think the Lions are going to come out on top. Next game we have here, the Tennessee Titans going up to Orchard Park to face the Buffalo Bills. Bills coming off a win, getting back in the win column. Tennessee, they've had a pretty awful start to the season so far, only getting one win down in Miami against a depleted Dolphins team. I'm not going to spend too much time on this game. I think Buffalo is honestly a steamroll Tennessee. I'm actually going to put this in as my lock of the week. I don't really see how Buffalo can lose this game. Obviously, it's the NFL. Only thing. Moving on, we do have a game. This was a little tricky to pick for me, but it is the Miami Dolphins at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts absolutely feel like a better team with Joe Flacco at quarterback. I think that has to be said. It feels like they're way more in sync. It feels like they have a good idea of what they're doing. Whereas with Anthony Richardson, it's really been combobbled. But I still feel like, though, regardless with the Dolphins, it's a mess because Tua is injured. And now, granted, this is a dome game, so you won't have to deal with, any, cold weather or anything like that. However, it just feels like Indianapolis being the home team, I'm going to have to give them the win here. You would hope for the Colts' sake that Joe Flacco is starting. But I think regardless, I think Indianapolis comes away with the win in this one. Next game we have here, and it is my Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, we're looking good so far. We're looking good. Gonna be back home in the Benz this Sunday, welcoming in the Seattle Seahawks. Now, obviously, I'm going to talk about this game later in the week, with a special guest. Hopefully we can get it worked out. However, I'm going to pick the Falcons to win. I think it's going to be a really good game. I was maybe even thinking about making this game of the week, but I decided, I'll go with Detroit, Minnesota. But I think this could honestly be a game of the week too. However, this could absolutely be a trap game for the Falcons. It could. I'll go into it later in the week. But I'm going to pick the Falcons here. I'm going to pick them to win and go to 5-2 on the season. Next game we have here, two really good teams, interconference matchup. The Houston Texans 5-1, off to a very solid start to the season. Going into Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers, who've really found their rhythm the past few weeks ever since Jordan Love came back from injury. If this was in Houston, I probably would, be more likely to lean towards the Texans. But with this being in Green Bay, I'm going to have to pick the Packers. Obviously, as I say, it's not December yet, but you're getting to that point where it's going to start getting chilly in Lambeau, and the Texans being a dome team from Texas. I don't know. But CJ Stroud has played in this type of weather before. He has. Two really good quarterbacks. Really digging this quarterback matchup. But I'm going to have to go ahead and give it to Green Bay. So give me the home team. Next game we have here, divisional matchup in the AFC North. The Cincinnati Bengals. They got the win last week on Sunday Night Football versus the Giants. And now they're looking to make it two straight. The Bengals are looking to dig out of their hole. They're looking to advance, that mission against the 1-5 Cleveland Browns, who have been you want to talk about the hardest team to watch in the NFL right now. It might be the Cleveland Browns. And that Deshaun Watson trade was an absolute disaster for them. I don't even, can you even blame Kevin Stefanski with what he's having to go through? How much can you really blame him? That team, they don't have Nick Chubb. They don't, it's that offense cannot move the ball downfield. But you have an investment in Deshaun Watson. So I'm going to have to go ahead. I'm going to have to pick the Bengals here. And I really do think Cincinnati's going to dig out of a hole. I do. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick Cincinnati to win here. Next game we have here, another divisional game. And it's the Philadelphia Eagles going into the Meadowlands to take on the Giants. This is one of those dicey games where I think logic tells you Philly finds a way to pull it out. But Philly has not looked really good at all either. Tell me a time the Eagles have honestly looked impressive so far this season. You really can't. They could have easily lost the first game. They could have lost. They did lose the game to us. They honestly probably could have lost to New Orleans. Yeah, there was even a point, the game versus Cleveland where they let Cleveland stay in it. And the Giants are not playing all that bad football. The Giants are playing the football to where they could catch a team slipping up and take advantage. And I think this could be that week. I'm going to pick the Giants to win. Now, do I feel real confident in it? Obviously not. I feel more dicey picking it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick the Giants to win here. I think they pull it off. I think Philly is up and down this year. I'm not really liking what I'm seeing from them. It's not what I thought I would see before the season. Moving into the 4:00 window games, we have the Las Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Rams, two teams that at some point have resided in LA. Obviously, the Raiders going to visit the Rams. LA is another team. The Rams are another team. It feels like, even though they're 1-4, they are better than their record. And I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pick the Rams to win. I think they're another team you got to look at and say they're gonna get it back on track, at least to an extent. And I don't think the Raiders have a really good quarterback situation. They had an all right start, but it really these past few weeks, it's showing they don't have an answer at quarterback. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pick the Rams. Next game we have here, the 1-5 Carolina Panthers. Another rough season for them, obviously. Going into Washington, taking on, Washington team that suffered a loss in Baltimore. But you got to admit, they fought with the Ravens throughout that game. They did. They showed promise. They showed they could hang with them. So I'm going to, keep it short and sweet with this one too. I expect Washington to come out and take care of business. Jane Daniels have another impressive performance. The Panthers cannot stop the run at all. So you might see Jane Daniels run all around that field. And also obviously get it to Terry McLaurin, get it to all his weapons. And Washington comes out and gets a win here. 425, the big game of the week, the Super Bowl rematch. The Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers from Levi Stadium. Almost the exact same scenario as it was 2 years ago where these two teams met, I think in week 7 actually, and it was a 425 Fox game. The Chiefs ended up coming away with that one. I really wanted to pick San Francisco kind of just because you feel at some point they're due for a win against the Chiefs. But I just think with all the guys they still have out, it's hard for me. I think the Chiefs are going to go in there and win. Now, I would not be shocked if San Francisco won this game. I really wouldn't. But it just feels like the Chiefs are going to go in there and get a win solely based off the fact they don't have McCaffrey. I don't really know what the situation is, with Kittle or, some of their other key pieces. So I think the Chiefs are going to go in, take advantage, and get the win. Sunday Night Football from Pittsburgh. The Jets, obviously, that game on Monday night, they easily should have won, I think. That was a game they had in their hands that they couldn't pull out. They got to go into Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. And the Jets, it's another situation. You feel like the Jets, they're got to get it on track at some point to an extent. But you're going into Pittsburgh. And as I say, as long as Justin Fields isn't costing them games, he should be the starting quarterback. And I feel like this is another scenario where you really rely on the defense, take advantage of an up and down Aaron Rodgers. Your offense does just enough to pick up the win. And I think that's how this game goes. I think Pittsburgh picks up the win. The Jets fall to 2-5. It's not really good. Steelers do go to 5-2, piecing together a solid season. Monday night, it is another Monday night doubleheader we have this week, but it's a little bit weird. First game we have here, traditional 8:15 kickoff in Tampa. Really good matchup. The Ravens and Bucks from Raymond James Stadium. Obviously, as a Falcons fan, paying very close attention to the Bucks here these next few weeks. Definitely want Baltimore to pull, a win out here. And I think they will. The thing with Tampa can be such a pain in the ass, but at some point they're going to get beaten by a team that is clearly better than them. And it feels like that's the case with Baltimore. They started off 0-2, but they really have their rhythm now. They're really, fully in sync. So I really ultimately feel like Baltimore is going to come out and get a win here. I do. And move to 5-2. Bucks fall to 4-3. And final game we have here of the week. It is a 9:00 kickoff on ESPN Plus. I don't know how many people are really going to be watching this game. But it's the LA Chargers and the Arizona Cardinals. It's not really the most intriguing matchup, but ESPN Plus, they need that game. They need their money too. And in this game, it's tough because the Cardinals have won some games they probably shouldn't have this year. But the other thing with the Chargers, it feels like they're a good team. It feels like they're going to get things in sync. They're kind of been up and down. But a Jim Harbaugh coach team is always going to put out winning football more times than not. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick the Chargers here. Even though this is one I honestly wouldn't be shocked if Arizona pulled it off. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Chargers here. I do think they are the better team at this point. So with that being said, another week picks in the books. I'll see how I do. Hopefully, I do good. Do good as last week. Gonna kind of be hard to top, but hey, a great week of football coming up. I will see you all in the next one.